Hey there, friends. I often talk about the responsibility that we have as gun owners in America to make sure that we operate our firearms and use our firearms in a way that promotes the responsibility that we all feel like we need to exhibit, and that in many cases we do. First, go check out my friends over at Falco Holsters, falcoholsters.com. You'll see a holster that we partnered together with to make. That's a really cool inside waistband concealable holster. We're also partnering up to give away one of these holsters along with a SIG P365 Macro X. Go check them out again, falcoholsters.com, falcoholsters.com. Well, recently in Memphis, Tennessee, a gun owner used his own firearm, and I consider to be a very effective manner to try to defend himself and his family, and he's going to get charges pressed against him. Check this story out.
You're looking at video from Saturday morning when a homeowner confronted a group of what he suspected were car thieves, and he was met with what he thought was automatic gunfire.
We got to look at court documents that say that homeowner was charged with reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, even though, according to that video, he didn't shoot first, just returned fire. The group of would-be car thieves are seen opening fire on the homeowner as soon as he steps out his front door. His wife says he went out there because their security camera let them know someone was on their driveway.
My husband does. He tries to cover, walks back, and then I think he shoots maybe 2-3 times.
Gunfire fills the air as the homeowner and the group of men shoot back and forth. His wife can be heard yelling at him to come back inside. The men are seen piling into a car and taking off. Then they fire off one more shot as they pull away.
Right now, I'm just thankful that no bullets hit him or my daughters or myself.
The homeowner's wife says she called 911, and when deputies arrived, they investigated the scene, then arrested her husband on a reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon charge. According to court documents, the homeowner returned fire as the men were retreating. He didn't have a clear line of sight because they were on the other side of a car, and he had his eyes closed when he pulled the trigger. The man's wife says the investigators had their priorities wrong.
When they were talking to us, what I thought, it was like they were trying to find ways to charge him. That doesn't sound right. Why would you put pressure on a victim when you should pressure the suspects to be found?
Now, we'll say this before we go any further into this, that in many cases, there's two sides to the story. In many cases, there are different factors that have played into why these people might have been focusing on his property. Were they really there to steal his vehicle? Was there really, and I'm not trying to pass any judgment on this homeowner in any kind of way, I'm just saying there's always two sides to a story. Was he involved in some kind of illegal activity that these people were retaliating against, or did he screw somebody over that he was in business with? So there could be that aspect of it. I don't know that that's the case because they called the cops, right? They did call 911 as evidenced by his wife putting out the phone call. Now, that still doesn't mean that it wasn't something nefarious that happened, but let me just get that out of the way real quick. Let's assume that nothing was taking place between this homeowner and these criminals, and he was simply the target of whatever reason they were there for to commit a crime. Obviously, you can hear in some of these instances that these idiots have this Glock giggle switch that turns their pistol into full auto. This man walks out, gets a couple of shots fired at him, returns fire, gets shot at with automatic fire. They even send away a parting shot whenever they are leaving, and we're getting charges pressed against this man. I would have some questions to ask. I would want to know from the arresting law enforcement that put this man in handcuffs if they knew the people who had committed the crime. Because it sure seems a little bit odd that I called you to come help me, and you're pressing charges against me. Do you know the people that I shot at? Is there some kind of a connection that maybe we need to know about that law enforcement has with these criminals? And the other thing is, if this man had been shot with any of these rounds, luckily we have untrained idiots that were shooting at him, but had he been hit with anything, my guess is he wouldn't have been charged. If these law enforcement are not connected somehow criminally to this gang that shot at him, then clearly they would have seen, oh, he got shot, so, let's go ahead and take him to the hospital and everything's going to be fine. But the fact that he was not shot, somehow or another they focus more on him. This tells you what you need to know from the top down, that the mayor's office and the police chief are very anti-gun. I don't care what they say on camera. I don't care what they've said in the news. Clearly, they are anti-gun, and that's the message that trickles down from the top. That's the danger of having a mayor who is anti-gun or a police chief, because the mayor is going to appoint that police chief, and of course, that's going to trickle down to all the brown nosers who now want to do the bidding of the chief and, of course, of the mayor. This is also another example of how the anti-gun movement works. They're in most cases too cowardly to go after the true criminals, because there might be an element of actual danger involved in seeking those people out, and it's much easier to say we took a gun off the street by putting this person who posed no danger to us in jail and taking his guns away from him. Friends, when you unholster that gun, be prepared to use it, and be prepared to be met with whatever kind of backlash there is out there. But I will say this in closing, don't be afraid to use it if you have to.